Hi, everyone, and welcome to Wholesale Change, webcast and podcast from Distribution Strategy Group, where we bring you thought leadership for wholesale change agents like you, because if you're on this show, you're probably a wholesale change agent too. My name's Ian Heller. I'll be your co-host today, along with my business partner, the wonderful Jonathan Bine, PhD. Jonathan, how you doing today, my friend?
I'm well, Ian. How are you doing, brother?
Good. So we've got a great guest today. We're going to introduce him in a few minutes, but first we got to do just a little bit of business. First item on the agenda is a new tool from Distribution Strategy Group called CXRX, Customer Experience RX. Smart distributors know that increasing customer loyalty leads to growth in both revenue and profitability. Furthermore, increasing loyalty depends on being able to measure customer satisfaction and improve the customer experience. DSG's Customer Experience RX provides a new and exciting way to measure overall customer satisfaction, but more importantly, to understand the drivers of customer satisfaction and customer experience. If you're using Net Promoter Score or are looking for a way to systematically improve customer satisfaction and customer experience, reach out to us at Distribution Strategy Group. And we're also delighted to say that today's program is brought to you by Bizawi. Built by innovators, Bizawi Cloud ERP is the modern all-in-one software suite that helps industry leaders automate tedious business processes, improve productivity, and make faster business decisions. With full-featured ERP, CRM, warehouse management, EDI, and customer self-service seamlessly integrated in a single easy-to-use platform, you can spend less time in front of the computer and more time on what you do best. Learn more at bizawi.com. That's BIZOWIE.com, BIZOWIE.com. And we want to welcome Bizawi to the stable of Distribution Strategy Group sponsors. It's companies like that make our work possible. So thanks very much. Now we want to introduce our guest. Please welcome JD Ewing. He's the chairman and CEO of COE Distributing. JD, how are you today, my friend?
Doing great, Ian. Good to see you again.
Good to see you too. Thanks for coming. We really appreciate you being here with us. We're going to have a little fun today. So, the first, we brought up your bio and you've got a lot of impressive stuff on there, but man, it's hard not to fixate on that volume growth of $100 million in 13 years. That's fantastic. You want to tell us a little bit about COE and what you guys do for a living today, and then maybe talk a little bit about the path you've taken to get here. And I will, just before you start, please, and if you have questions, hit the Q&A button at the bottom of the screen and we will pass them on to JD. So JD, tell us about what you guys do and how you got there.
Sure, thank you. And it's an honor to be here and have the conversation. So, COE Distributing is an office furniture wholesaler manufacturer, and we distribute products to resellers of office furniture across the country and throughout the Caribbean. So if Distribution Strategy Group is going to go out and buy all new office furniture, they wouldn't call COE, they would call their local office furniture supplier, and hopefully that supplier calls COE, and we send them the products that you want, and they get delivered to you in less than a week. So that's a very high level, in a nutshell, what we do. We do a lot of product development. We do a lot of collaboration with factories globally to produce our own brand. The Office Source brand is about 95% of what we sell. The company started as a true wholesale distributor of other brands, and over the course of the last 20 years, really migrated the business to our own brand and promoting that. And we still do traditional distribution of other manufacturers, but the bulk of what we do today, for a lot of reasons, is focus on our brand and bring that value-added product to our customer base and allow them to make more margin than the products that they used to sell before Office Source was introduced to them.
So your offering is channel friendly.
Yes, that would be one way to put it.
Good. Now, when we were preparing for the show, you mentioned that COE is a manufacturer but there's a little bit of a hybrid function going on here, right? For the listeners, JD is actually on the board of the National Association of Wholesalers, and other people who sell to these office product stores are also distributors, right? So where you sit relative in the channel relative to other distributors makes you a little bit of a hybrid, right?
That is absolutely correct. With the way that we develop product and source it and then bring it to market, our own brand has created the view that Office Source is a manufacturer, and in a lot of ways, for what's happening in our channel today, we are. A lot of our competitors who were traditional manufacturers in years past leverage OEM manufacturing partners globally, and that's exactly what we're doing. We're not building brick and mortar factories. We're seeking out the best OEM partners, manufacturers of our products globally, and consolidating into about 750,000 square feet of distribution space across the U.S. And our focus is quality furniture fast to our customers. And today we're delivering about 90% of our orders in 5 days or less.
Wow. And that's interesting because people are like going and picking out certain lines and certain, finishes and certain fabrics, right? And I'm sure you give them a range, but that seems like fast turnaround for a bunch of office furniture.
It is, yeah, without a doubt, and it's challenging. And the quicker you do it, the less choice you have. So
sure,
that's one of the balancing acts of how wide of a selection of chair fabrics, for instance, as you mentioned, Ian, can we truly offer and still provide that really quick, efficient delivery to our clients, and in turn their clients, which is the ultimate customer of both our customers and theirs.
Yeah, that's a fine balance, right? So you have to get that right, and it looks like you have. So to what degree was this idea of really producing your own brand fundamental to your sales growth, JD?
It is, I would say, it invigorated our marketing and sales department well beyond what we thought it would when we started the journey 20 plus years ago with our private label brand. And it's really evolved and created an entity of its own, and hence Office Source being recognized by a lot of our customers as a manufacturer. And we've gotten multiple requests from our customers of, can I have the phone number for the Office Source factory? I want to call and talk to them about some of these products. And there is no single Office Source factory. We're the brand, and we've created, and our marketing and sales teams have done a phenomenal job of creating that view of what the brand is.
That's really interesting. Go ahead.
From selling a private label brand versus a branded, a true wholesale relationship with a manufacturer, there's a margin play there, and it's significant because we control the supply chain, we control the margin, and we control the quality to as much as we can. And that's why it's important to get the right OEM partners. Right? And quality is number one, because for as much product as we put in the market, we don't want to have to reach back out into the market and pull it back because there's a quality issue. So quality is number one, and then we work to what price point we want to hit and what margin we want to create for our customers for their opportunity to make money, and then ourselves as well. We have to be able to grow the business and invest back into the business.
Yeah, it's my experience that distributors underestimate how hard it is to do a really good private label, or in your case, manufacturer label program, because you are on the hook if there are any recalls. You have to, the returns come back to you, the building the brand is up to you, the effort to go and source the right factories and ensure quality control on the factory floor. I found it to be very daunting, but you guys have apparently figured it out.
Well, we think we're getting better. There's no end of, we've done it, now we can stop, because that's when you get run over and pass by, right? So we've been at it for, like I said, 20 plus years, and to quote Jim Collins, that flywheel of how that momentum starts to take off over the course of the last, really 12 months, we've seen it just explode. And we're excited about all the things that we've worked at for the last 20 years to get to this point, and beyond. But it is, to your point, not an easy, one effort and it's done solution. You without trying, you can pick a bad partner. And if you pick a bad partner, it takes years to solve that problem, because the supply chain, particularly over the last, everybody's experienced it over the last 24 months, is elongated unless you're onshore. And for our products, and from a competitive perspective, most are not onshore. So it's the 6 to 12 month process just to develop product and get it moving. And then you need a 12 to 24 month process of justifying, let the market justify whether you've got it right, and you pick the right fabrics, you pick the right finishes, and you pick the right styles. So it is not quick and easy, but the effort is worth it.
Yeah, right. No, I mean, obviously it is. So you talked about the notion of building your own brand invigorated your sales and marketing team. But it feels like there's a broader cultural thing going on that's working for you. I mean, in our prep call, you used one of my favorite quotes from Peter Drucker, which is that culture eats strategy for breakfast. So if you have the right culture, it just feels like you can do anything. So how did you go about building that culture, and how did this decision to have your own brand invigorate that?
Thanks for the question. And the spark for me was in a book that was introduced to me 8 years ago at this point, I think, called Becoming Your Best, by Steven Schallenberger. And we've used that book as a model and as one of our featured books in our book club within the company for years, and still do, because it has 12 tenets of what you need to do to become your best, and how becoming your best will help you personally, with your family, and your private life, social life, as well as how that builds the business, and how you interact and communicate and collaborate with each other. And again, it's not just one-sided for business. It is at least 50-50, maybe a little bit more on the personal side, which creates a hook, if you would, for employees who think they're just getting business 101 shoved down their throats. And that's not the case, and it's not the intent. And we've had great success with it. And it runs on a quarterly cycle. So I think we're in week 5 for this quarter, and it's the golden rule. That was last week. This week's is build trust and do what you say you're going to do when you say you're going to do it. So those are just a few things that got the momentum started. And then reading just about everything that Patrick Lencioni wrote, his fables books, whether it's 5 Dysfunctions of a Team or Getting Naked, and applying those on top of and within those Becoming Your Best tenets. And then Jim Collins, if you really want to shove business 101 or business 401 down somebody's throat, but that's for higher level folks. But the work that he and his partners have done over the last 20 or 30 years is unbelievable. And but you can't start. I don't think you can start there. That takes a while to build up to jump into those types of books. But that's where the flywheel comes from, and the hedgehog concept, and just continual, that 20-mile march, and all of those things that just speak to consistency and doing the right thing, and building a great company. And so to tie it back to your question, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. Yeah.
So to tie it back to your question of how did that invigorate, the excitement for the brand, it's differentiating ourselves in the marketplace. So our sales folks have something to talk about that no one else can really talk about. Our marketing teams can put together presentations that are unique, and it's not necessarily a me too, because we've built the brand, we have a brand, and it is differentiated from our competitors.
That's awesome. And it's interesting because when you were talking, I texted Jonathan. He has a book club in his company, which I think is really cool. So why don't you tell us that you have a book club in your company? How does that work?
So it started out with the Becoming Your Best, and we literally, I think, beat that book into the ground, and we use it for new hires now, and anybody else in the company that wants to join. But we've expanded that to giving the choice out to the employees. And we were doing it once a quarter. I think we're once or twice a year at this point. And our VP of Customer Experience runs that book club, as well as our VP of Sales, depending on which books they are. And we've invited our sales reps, who are not direct employees, they're independent sales reps, to be a part of the sales focus books. And we have I think it's every other week call at this point to discuss the chapters that were to be read, and we talk about it as a group. And if there's takeaways, good or bad, what did you like about it? How can you apply it? What did you not like about it? How should we avoid the things you didn't like? And it's just another way to connect. And for us, because we're so dispersed, our workforce, from sales reps to even our management and executive teams are dispersed across the country. It gives us a consistent way to connect and communicate and collaborate.
On your culture, which is really front and center for so many of our listeners and our audience today, what have you done in terms of measurement of employee engagement, employee satisfaction, and then how do you incorporate that into what you do differently?
So we use ENPS, so Employee Net Promoter Score, which you're both very familiar with, and starting off on that opportunity for others to join it, if you would. And we do a start, stop, continue quarterly to get employee feedback. So it's essentially, the start is, what should the company start doing? What should COE start doing that we're not doing? What should COE stop doing that we're doing? And what should COE continue to do? So that's the start, stop, continue survey, and we get that feedback. The executive team and management teams review that every quarter, respond to it, and post it on our intercompany message board, so that everyone in the company, whether they chose to participate in the survey or not, can see what was asked, what was suggested, and what the executive and management team's response to that is, and how that's going to flow into our company culture and the processes that we have in place.
So are you actually sharing the results? Are you sharing of the survey, or are you sharing the actions that you're going to take? For both? Wow.
Both, yeah. So, we think it's extremely important to acknowledge, if someone took the time to respond to that survey, to acknowledge the fact that they responded, and how we're going to take action if there's action to be taken. If it's a continue having the book clubs, for instance, our response would be something like, absolutely, we love the book clubs and think that that's a great way for employees to get to know each other in a different way. So that would be one response. If it's a stop, we then have a decision to make. If it's something that we feel makes sense to stop within the company, we'll acknowledge that, and we'll put an end to it. If it's something that we think is valuable to the company, we'll have to respond in that way. And but acknowledging the employees' time they took and effort to provide a suggestion is critical, regardless of what the action is. In my opinion, it is letting them know that they were heard, and we try and do that in all instances.
Sends such a powerful message to me if I'm an employee of COE that you're willing to share the entire results, and that you have been thoughtful in responding to each one, whether it's, to your point, start, stop, or continue.
Yeah, we think so as well.
Let's move to the customer side, because I love that you're about measurement on both the employee and the customer side. What have you been doing to measure customer satisfaction, customer experience? How long have you been running the programs? What do you get from those?
So on the customer side, we use the NPS, so Net Promoter Score. I believe we've been doing that for 5 years, plus or minus. We also use a version of the start, stop, continue, giving our customers the opportunity to tell us what they like, don't like, and would like to see. And those responses sometimes get a bit more interesting than internal surveys, but extremely helpful, because we get a direct feel for the market, how we're treating them, that they may not otherwise share with us. So, and back to acknowledging the effort to make the response that's critical. And even just picking up the phone and calling and saying, hey, I saw your response to, you really hate the way that you get your deliveries on our truck and want it to change. And I can tell you that we're going to change it effective immediately. That sends a powerful message to the customer. And again, they're heard. And a lot of times when there's problems or there's complaining going on, somebody is just begging to be listened to and acknowledged. And we try and make sure we do that in every possible instance. Additionally, we get direct feedback on phone calls. The executive team will talk to customers on a regular basis. Our customer service group will provide feedback on customer interactions, as well as just asking a question.
So you find the feedback is instructive for what you need to do to provide a better customer experience.
Absolutely.
And have you seen the NPS go up over time? What's been the trend there?
We have. I would say we're pleased with our NPS score. We're never completely satisfied because we always want it to get better. We're north of 50. The last one I think was in the mid 50s. We've been as high as upper 60s, low 70s. We've been as low as the 30s, and that took place in the depths of supply chain issues 12 months ago. That was when we had the biggest challenges. About 12 months ago, we were at the kind of the bottom of the trough, if you would, of really dealing with challenging situations and not being able to fulfill orders in the way that customers, our clients, were used to us filling them on a consistent basis.
As you know, we see a lot of customer sat NPS data, and we measure below the level of NPS, and a lot of distributors took a hard hit on that whole product availability issue. And NPS scores, to your point, came down as a result. It was probably wasn't hard to interpret that one. There's others that take a little bit more interpretation. But yeah, that's tremendous. And again, I guess it must send a great message to your customers when they hear a specific follow-up that something they suggested is resulting in a change in how you operate or your policies. That's incredible.
It does, and it could be the smallest thing. But again, if somebody's speaking it matters to them. They want it to be heard, and the worst thing that can happen, I believe, in any instance, whether it's employee or a partner or a client, is that it gets ignored. And we try and I'm sure we're not 100% perfect on giving that acknowledging it and giving the feedback, but we try every possible way to make sure that we acknowledge when we're being asked or told by anyone, internally, externally, customer. We want them to know that they were heard.
One idea that we've referenced in previous shows here is from a book called The Loyalty Effect, which you may have heard of or read, by Peter Reichheld. He's the one who invented NPS, by the way.
Okay.
And the idea with loyalty effect is that there's this really nice interdependency between employee NPS and retention, and customer NPS and retention, and growth and profitability. So as the one rises, the other rises, and then the net effect of all of that is a growth in customer retention and therefore revenue and profitability. I'm curious if you've seen that effect at all in your own business.
I would like to say that we have. The one asterisk caveat there is the recent supply chain challenges. The pandemic, number one, which created a completely different environment overall. So we don't have a necessarily a clear correlation because of at least 2 black swan events in 24, 36 months. Maybe there were a few others in there that have yet to be revealed. I don't know. But I agree with that. There is a correlation. It's been the market and the environment has been so disruptive and choppy that we don't have a clear picture that that's the case because of outside factors.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, to your point, between COVID and the supply chain problems, those are the 2 black swan events I assume you're talking about.
Yeah.
That it's thrown off all the typical correlations and measurements. Now, are you I think you said this earlier, but I wanted to explore a little bit. Is your workforce pretty decentralized, or do most people come into an office environment?
We are fairly decentralized.
Okay.
That was, by required, 36 months ago. And what that did for us that we really never would have anticipated is it opened up the entirety of the country for hire. And
Right.
we hired some really tremendous talent that we would have otherwise never even thought about, talked to, or considered coming to work for us. And because of our success in that, if we were to mandate that everybody has to come back to the office, we would lose that talent because nobody's jumping on a plane to come to the office for 8 hours. And I don't feel comfortable mandating that people move to a particular area to come to the office in our situation. For other companies, bigger companies, that probably works, but we were not virtual or remote when it started, when the pandemic hit, but we were conducting communication via video before the pandemic hit. So for us, when we had to go remote and jump on Zoom and send video messages and things, it wasn't the first time it happened, and it wasn't foreign, and it wasn't weird. It was normal, and it became even more normal through that first year of the pandemic, that it became so normal that one of the hires that we made, who came into the executive team 9 months after we hired him, is when we first met face to face, and we didn't realize it because we had seen each other every day, multiple times a day, talked like you would in an office. And when we met for the first time, it took us a couple of seconds to say, "Oh, wait a minute, this is the first time we've actually shaken hands." So, and that goes back to the culture thing. If you don't have the ability to create a culture that allows that relationship building to take place in a virtual manner, that's where any company is going to struggle. And we've been fortunate to develop the culture that allows that virtual relationships to really thrive.
I know you're a Bizawi customer because that's how we found out about them, and they're cloud-based, so that would enable you to work anywhere. Do you use other collaboration technologies, whether it's Slack or Teams or Zoom? I mean, how do you keep everyone communicating in your distributed environment?
Yeah, so Zoom is probably the number one used. I would say that for certain departments, Teams is preferred means of communication, and we use both consistently.
Got it. And do you use a CRM for your customer management?
We utilize the CRM that's built in Bizawi.
Oh, cool. Okay, good. And we have a question from the audience asking how you incentivize your employees, and specifically in terms of, is it tied to performance of the company?
Yeah, so certainly there's performance-based opportunity, and we've on the if we look at our distribution centers, and there's been a talent shortage and across the board, but in the distribution centers, as everyone on this call listening can probably attest to, it's been a real struggle. So we've had to adjust our wages 2 to 3 times faster or more often than pre-pandemic. So that's one way of keeping up with the market. We've adjusted the hourly wage. We do quarterly bonuses based on company profitability, which everyone in the company takes part in. So I refer to it as a non-formal profit sharing quarterly bonus because it's not a formalized plan. We also have our 401k and profit sharing plans, as well as a pension plan in place, and those are formal, documented benefits. But the quarterly is based on company profitability, and if the company is profitable, we share that profit on a quarterly basis. We've struggled with productivity or production in their distribution centers, and how to incentivize our workers and our team members for that. and I say we struggle because we've not been able to come up with a good solution of a measurement. We've got one of the challenges for the products that we distribute is they're all sizes, all weights. They don't fit on a 40 by 48 pallet, nice and neat, and go right into the rack. We've got desks, we've got file cabinets, we've got chairs, we've got office partitions, and it takes, you could have 1,000-piece order that could take 5 minutes to pick because they're all small parts, and you can have a 10-piece order that takes a half an hour to pick because they're all big parts. So just being completely transparent, we haven't been successful in bonusing our team in that way from a productivity standpoint.
Yeah, it's really hard. I mean, when you're kind of business, when you've got such a diverse size range of products, it's hard to come up with a universal measurement to act as the denominator for productivity, right? Well, do you have a sales force that makes in-person calls to your customers? Is that how you're structured?
We do, yeah. So they're independent sales organizations across the country, and they work on a commission, a 1099, and they're commissioned based on what they sell. And from an incentivizing standpoint, if I step out of the distribution centers and we look at customer service, there's a little easier metric because we can promote a product for a week or a month, and customer service, we would bonus them on the success of adding those on to a sale, or creating demand for those by having conversations with customers that they're communicating with, whether that's via email or over the phone.
It feels like there's a learning culture there. I mean, if you have a book club and you've got people engaged in this constant learning, do you hire for that specifically? Are you looking for that in your hiring, or do people just become that way when they join COE? I mean, because I think it's hard to build a learning culture in a company because learning is work, right? It's not, I mean, even if you enjoy it, it's harder to read a business book than it is to surf social media. What is it that you look for an employee to know that they're going to thrive in that environment, or how do you infect people with the learning virus once they join?
I think it's probably more on the front side, is because of our culture and those that are involved in the hiring process understand that and are committed to continuing that. They're looking for people that have a desire and excitement of joining a company that provides that opportunity. And through the interview process, you can, if you're asking the right questions and gathering the right feedback from the candidate, you can identify fairly successfly if they're a fit and will enjoy. I mean, they have to like what they do. They have to enjoy being in that type of environment. So that's a fit, and they have to want to do it, and they have to be able to collaborate and communicate. So we use a couple of different hiring methods. From a supervisory manager level and above, we use top grading, and that is a fairly rigorous interview process. But it provides enough information that you can clearly see if there's a cultural fit, and we hire for culture first, and skill second. And with the right process, and you don't have to use top grading, but with the right process, you can gather that information. You can hear it or not hear it from the candidate, and make a much more informed and ideally long-term, more successful hiring decision.
Okay, so you're looking for. Go ahead, John.
Please go ahead.
So you're looking for you're screening for that. That's interesting. So go ahead, Jonathan. I just thought that was unusual in a good way.
It is absolutely. I want to come work for you, JD. It sounds like an amazing place to work. So we have a question from the audience, which is, have you deployed warehouse automation?
Absolutely. And when you hear automation, and particularly in the warehouse, I mean, you on some of your shows you've talked about robots and automated picking and things like that. And for the reasons that we talked about earlier about shapes and sizes and different things, we haven't gone that far. I would say the most significant thing that we've done is instituting RF scanning, product scanning into the dock, into the racks, out of the racks. And if I step back and hear that, are you automated in the warehouse? That doesn't necessarily immediately come to top of mind as automation, because we've been doing it for quite a while, and it's just normal. There are extreme benefits to that, obviously, because you know where everything is, where it's supposed to be, and you can trace in the system through footsteps what happened to it, where it went, and why it may not be where it's supposed to be. So that's probably the number one automated piece that we use. We also, our picking labels have barcodes, so we can scan to the truck. So we're scanning to trucks as we load, which is another step in the right direction of getting automation. And then on the order entry side, we talked about this a little bit before, as we were talking before the show. We are about 60% electronic orders, how they come into our ERP, how they come into Bizawi. And I believe these numbers are correct. So about 60% of those orders come through an electronic exchange, Connexium, who's you guys are familiar with, and that's taking PDFs and spreadsheets, Excel spreadsheets, and automatically entering them into our ERP, into Bizawi, without any touch. Now they then go on an electronic order hold, and one of our CSRs goes in and validates the order, releases it, or communicates with the customer if there's something that doesn't look right. And then the other 40% come through our web, on our online store, where our customers, the customers have a login. We've got inventory, 24/7, 365, real-time inventory. They can place orders, they can check on previous orders, but that's where 40% of the orders, electronic orders, come from.
Wow.
So automation on the customer side and customer experience, I would say we've probably been more successful than in the distribution centers.
And my understanding, and I'm curious from a CX standpoint, is that customers like getting the immediate order acknowledgement from a Connexium or similar type of a solution. Have you seen that, or have you heard that kind of idea from your customer?
So through Bizawi, our customer orders are acknowledged via email. I don't know if it's every hour or every 15 minutes. Forgive me, I don't know the timing, but it is relatively quick, consistent, and that happens whether they've entered the order online or whether it goes through Connexium or whether we're manually entering it. That's all through the ERP.
Got it. So it's the ERP that's driving that, not Connexium.
Yes, on the order, on the customer order acknowledgement side. Yes.
Nice. Okay.
Hey, JD, a lot of CEOs we talk to they really are struggling with employee retention. Do you think the fact that you're looking at ENPS and you have this, culture, the learning culture that you're screening for, and such a healthy culture, is that helping you in that regard versus other distributors, do you think?
I'd like to believe, and I wouldn't like to believe, I do believe yes. The answer to that question is yes. We try and have fun, which you guys mentioned the same thing, so I resonated with having fun in what you do. It's still work to be done. It's there's still sometimes you've got to have a tough day to get through what you need to get through. But I think overall, the entirety of our team understands and knows that the company is there to support them. We want to give everybody an opportunity to grow, to get better. And as I mentioned before, both on the personal side as well as the business side. If it's all one side, if it's all just about the business, that's where I think you get burnout and you get folks that just opt out because it's not a healthy environment. 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 50 years ago, in the mills and in warehouses and things, that's just the way it was. But obviously today, things have changed, and you said it earlier, I think, Ian. The struggle is to create that change, that cultural shift, that cultural change, and it can happen organically, but realistically, if it doesn't come from the top and continue to be reinforced and grow throughout the organization, it's going to take a lot longer. So I've focused on culture starting 8 years ago with the Becoming Your Best book, and continue to focus on that and spread that responsibility across the executive team and the management team. And I think it makes a huge difference. But it has to be real. It has to be genuine. If you're faking it, that is identified pretty quickly, and then you've got a real challenge.
Yeah, it's funny because I like to say, it's a little bit tongue in cheek, you can't fake authenticity. Right. And also organizations, take on the personality and values of the leader, and those things that's inevitable, right? I mean, you can't hide you can't act differently than your values for very long, or people are going to figure out that there's something else going on. So sounds like you got a lot of great things working there. So, we have people on this show who are listening in, they want to be a CEO someday. JD, do you have any tips for people who are earlier in their careers and how they can maybe ascribe or achieve your level of success someday?
Number one, it's about the people. It's about having great people. You said we've got great things going on, and we do, but we wouldn't if we didn't have great people. And giving them opportunities, believing in them, encouraging them, and engaging with them. And in our organization, we create opportunities. We have rising stars and other employee engagement efforts that really encourage and encourage learning and participation, right? I mean, so it's tough to learn if you're not participating. It can happen, but if you start to participate in different activities, it becomes easier and infectious. So number one, I would start with people. And look, getting it right always isn't possible. It doesn't happen. Right. There are mistakes made. The key is how you react to those mistakes, whether it's a mistake with an employee, whether it's a mistake in a conversation, whether it's a mistake with a customer, owning up, acknowledging, and fixing the problem, and doing your very best not to let it happen again at any level. I think that's critical.
Fantastic. Jonathan, anything else for JD today?
No, we're just curious to see the next chapter in your growth. I'm sure it's a big, bold, audacious goal. And it's exciting to see companies that are well managed. And you appear to be doing that very clearly. So that's a delight.
And succeeding the right way, right? You're adding real value to customers. You have a good culture. You're rewarding employees who do well. You're attracting the right employees. And I think this is, we see that a lot in distribution, where you have really well-managed companies that really care about their employees, but a lot of times those companies are not on their radar screen of prospective employees because they just don't know that distribution exists. And I think that's one of the reasons we do these interviews, JD, is to get the word out. So if you just hang on for 1 second, JD, I do want to go over a little bit of business or a couple of upcoming events. So two that are coming up on March 1st, we have our 2023 State of Distributor Technology. How many years have we done this one now, Jonathan?
This is the third year.
Third year in a row. Okay, we have three sponsors. We have Epicor, White Cup, and Nautical. So thank you to those three companies for sponsoring that research and making it possible. On March 8th, we'll be back on Wholesale Change with Ryan Luce, who's the CFO of Conequip Parts and Equipment. That is an online marketplace that sells nothing online. So it's really interesting. You're going to want to be a part of that. And that's sponsored by Infor and Resolve. So we thank those two companies for bringing us that content. But for now, JD, I want to say thank you for joining us. We really appreciate it. Thank you for spending some time with us. Best wishes to you for lots more luck, as I'm sure you'll continue to grow.
Appreciate that. Thanks for the conversation and the opportunity to be on the show.
That was great talking to you. Jonathan, great working with you, and I'll see you in real time here in a few minutes.
Okay, thanks, everybody. Take care.
All right, thanks, everyone.
Thanks, guys.
Bye now.